want of comfort and convenience?
I definitely think that's the case. Yeah, it's always nice to be under the aircon.
Almost everybody I spoke to today agreed that sometimes it was difficult to do the right thing because it was inconvenient or it was uncomfortable. They said it was hard, and perhaps we need to find a way to make this invisible problem more visible, to nudge people into doing the right thing every day with each appliance and every behavior. This is going to take some work. You see, a UCLA study found that if you give people constant visible feedback on their energy consumption, it helps them reduce the amount of electricity that they use. Hey guys, how are you? Hello. So I've roped in behavioral scientist Dr. Tanya Nagpal and the co-founders of Resync Technologies, Emir Nurov and Jayantika Soni. They already have an energy monitoring app that I'm hoping to tap on.
So we have developed an app where people can monitor their energy consumption in real time. They can understand which appliances are consuming the most amount of energy.
So that's providing them information, but is that going to shift their behavior? Do we need to do more to kind of nudge them in the right direction?
Yes, I think it's important to give them positive feedback. Mm-hmm. So it should be well-timed and it should be very specific, like not generic, go save electricity, something like that.
So things like how much money I'm spending.
Yes, and we can also provide them a benchmark. How were you doing last year and how are you doing right now?
We can try to implement additional features to what we already have in our app.
We can come up with the number of trees saved.
Yes.
Or the carbon impact of your energy consumption as a feature in the app, which will give them a realistic figure on the impact of switching on a light bulb on the climate bill. Okay. We can send out notifications as well, like to the user in terms of their energy impact, maybe their dollar value, how much they are spending on their energy.
With a smiley.
With a smiley, yeah. With a smiley, yeah.
While the Resync team is modifying their app and adding Tanya's suggestions, I've convinced 3 families in Pasir Ris to give it a go. Who uses the most electricity?
Karensa? No, not me.
Do you all agree as well? Is it her?
Yes. Mine is because of the aircon.
The aircon?
Because I switch on the aircon almost every night.
Okay.
Yeah. But
the next is your computer.
Yeah, he plays computer. His computer is on perpetually, 24/7.
So this is the computer that never sleeps?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
How about you turn your computer off at night when you go to sleep, and then with the app, see whether it makes a difference to your electricity consumption. Can?
Okay, sounds good.
So who uses the most electricity? Why? Why are you the chief culprit here?
Basically, he uses the aircon because he works from home. He is the one who encourages the use of aircon. I'm the one who sits there innocent.
But do you actually turn the aircon on at all, yourself?
Yes, he does. Only to get my little brother to stop complaining.
Okay, wait. Among the bedrooms, which is the bedroom that uses the most electricity?
Definitely ours.
Okay, can we have a look?
Yes. Okay, sure.
So this is his bed. This is my bed.
All right, have a seat. I've got something cool to show you guys. So this is an infrared camera. Okay?
I know that already.
Oh, do you? I noticed the kids left the windows ajar. I want to show them how this overworks their air conditioner. Your aircon's really cool. Can you see that?
Yes, that's very cool.
That's very cool. But the outside is kind of warm. So if you leave the windows open like this, the cold air will seep out. The air conditioner has to work a lot harder to keep the room cool if you don't close the windows.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we close the windows?
Yeah.
This is the whole family, and we do have a 5th member of the family. She's actually in hospital right now.
Oh dear, what happened?
In fact, she's been in and out of hospital because of an accident that she had in February 2019.
I see.
If we're talking about before the accident, the electricity is about 300 kilowatt, per month. But after Jana's accident, the household bill gone up.
Because Jana is bedbound, The family installed air conditioning around the house. This has led to more than a doubling of their electricity bill. Okay,
So this is Nurjana's room, where she spends almost 24/7 here.
I see.
Since the accident. As you can feel, this room is cooler because we have to switch this air conditioning on.
Okay, I've got this thing here, and it's an infrared camera that I plugged into the phone. So purple is cool and yellow is warm. Let's see which are the cooler and warmer parts of the room. You see that fan there is very cool.
You can see that, yes.
And you can see how it's cooling this side of the bed quite effectively. Can you see?
Yep.
So it tells us that if we can use the fan as a supplement to the aircon, you can actually make the settings of the aircon not quite so powerful.
So this will reduce the power consumption of the air conditioning.
That's right. The Resync team has installed monitoring devices in the homes of our volunteer families, and they've updated the app. It will show the family's electricity consumption in 15-minute intervals. The team also added notifications to motivate the families. And to find out what feedback works best, the notifications will be different each week. From daily consumption numbers, to money saved, to reduction in electricity use. And finally, to their carbon emissions. And in a month, we'll check in with them to see how they fared. What's interesting, speaking to the families, is that they all know that air conditioning is the biggest electricity sink. And if you look across at the block, you can see an air conditioning unit installed in every home. Singapore has the highest number of air conditioners per capita in Southeast Asia, evident from the number of discarded air conditioners that you can see here. About 75% of our homes have air conditioning installed. About 40% of our electricity used in our offices and homes goes to air conditioning. And aircon installations are expected to rise by 73% between 2010 and 2030. With that in mind, we need a way to keep cool and yet be able to junk these energy guzzlers. We need to dig deep to solve this cooling conundrum. Well, deep beneath Marina Bay Sands in this case. This is a part of Marina Bay Sands you don't know about. Come and have a look. At the end of this rather dingy tunnel is a door that most wouldn't notice. Hi, hello. I must say it's very cleverly hidden. This is the Singapore District Cooling Facility.
You went up.
It's very noisy. Goodness. Wow. What is this?
This is water chiller. This is a central plant where the chillers are located. So all the warm water from surrounding buildings, we collect it back here, chill it down, and we recirculate back to the building. So all the buildings will no longer have chillers, and all the chillers will be consolidated at this central plant. We serve 3 categories of buildings. The offices like MBFC, and of course the iconic MBS, and we also serve MRT stations.
So how is this better for the planet?
We can actually achieve up to 40% energy efficiency in this building. Than a typical in-building plant, yes.
So there's a 40% energy saving
That's
by
right.
having centralized cooling.
Correct.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot. Air conditioners need cold water to produce cool air. So having a district cooling facility, as opposed to having to build and install individual plant rooms and cooling towers, helps make businesses in this area more energy efficient. There are plans to roll out district cooling to new estates like Jurong Lake District and Tengah. But what about the rest of Singapore? Most of us won't get a district cooling system anytime soon. Retrofitting all our aircons would be too expensive. So just turn up our air conditioning temperatures, right? Before you snub that idea, think about this. Turning up our air conditioning temperature by just 1 degree cuts our electricity consumption by up to 6%. We often think that we are more comfortable and productive at lower temperatures. But do we really need our rooms this cold? To test this out, I've set up these temperature-controlled tents to simulate different environments. 22 degrees, which is a common setting in many offices. 25 degrees, which is the temperature recommended by experts for the correct balance between comfort and efficiency. And 31 degrees, which is the average temperature in Singapore on a hot day. The idea is to see if temperature affects our performance. Helping me out are Drs. Wee and Emily from Singapore University of Social Sciences. We've gathered two groups of volunteers. Both groups will first take a computerized test at 22 degrees Celsius. Then one group will take a similar test again at 25 degrees Celsius, while the other at 31 degrees Celsius.
What we're really trying to look at is things like attention, cognition, and how that is affected by temperature.
So I'm measuring his physiological responses to stress and to the different conditions. I'm looking at his heart rate, his skin conductance, that's how much he's perspiring. And another one will be his skin temperature. So how is it actually affected by the different climates that he's in?
So a couple of days of testing and some number crunching later, I meet up with Emily and Seok Hui again to review the results.
There was actually better performance in the group that was in the hottest condition, so meaning the 31 degrees. They actually did better than people in the 25 degrees Celsius condition.
So both groups perform better in the warmer rooms. And what's even more interesting, the group that took the test in the room that's 31 degrees Celsius outperformed the group in the room set at 25 degrees Celsius. Why is that?
In the colder condition, probably thermoregulation is happening because your temperature, the skin temperature here was probably about 20-ish, right, which is very far away from your body's core temperature of 37 degrees. So because all that energy, resources are used for thermoregulation, probably less energy and resources are available for the mental and cognitive tasks.
So does this suggest that we need our homes and our offices warmer, not have the aircon at 22 degrees?
Yes. Yes, I think the data seems to suggest that as well. Yes.
Similar studies have arrived at the same conclusion, including one published in 2010 by Cornell University. This study found that workers in offices with temperatures in the low 20s were less productive than those in warmer environments. Well, that was a surprise. Warmer temperatures may actually help us to perform better. I know it's unrealistic to turn off all our air conditioning in Singapore, but maybe we can nudge Singaporeans to turn it up a little bit, closer to 25 degrees. And turning up the aircon temperatures is something our Pasir Ris families are trying to do, among other things, 2 weeks into their electricity challenge.
By using this light, I think we have saved a lot.
I've been attempting to avoid using aircon.
So now when I am outside or I am sleeping, I will turn off my computer.
Tonight, rising tensions on the Korean Peninsula after Pyongyang fires a short-range missile. And from poverty to prosperity, China shows how it has left no individual, region or ethnic group behind in building its society. Join us at 8 p.m. Singapore, Hong Kong time.
Come on, walk the water! Shoulders back! I did cry, thinking, how am I going to support my kids, right? But the harder the challenge, the harder I fight back.
I want my friends to learn how to keep themselves and the people around them safe from the virus through a toy.
There's a lot of isolation facilities being created. I put myself into the shoes of the migrant workers. When you get isolated, how do you feel?
There was a lot riding on what we were doing. We all felt this extra sense of urgency to develop something as soon as possible.
People got so paranoid about touching shared public surfaces, so I thought of creating a connected touchless button.
The main thing about creativity is you just need someone to water it and let it bloom.
Ideas versus pandemic. premiering 17th October on CNA.
After weeks of intensive language lessons,
True.
I'm posing our learners the biggest challenge ever to put on a play.
Friendly and scary creature. Behind you, behind you.
And in the audience, their harshest critics. How will these adults struggling with literacy fare?
He asked me to pick a burgundy.
Burgundy. On the second episode of Rite of Passage, Sunday on CNA.
You're watching Sustainability and Survival on CNA.
It's a hot, wet, muddy afternoon. I can't think of a better place to be than Pasir Ris Mangrove Park. Hey guys.
Hello.
What are you all up to?
We're just finishing our carbon stock assessment in the mangrove.
Excellent. As I learn more about clean energy alternatives in Singapore, I've come to realize our options are limited. But perhaps we can approach the problem another way, by removing and capturing the carbon we emit. So Dan, how does the mangrove trap carbon in the soil?
So like all plants, they take up carbon dioxide by photosynthesis. That gets stored in all the leaves and all the roots. And then when they die, they all accumulate on the surface of the soil. And normally in a regular forest, all of these leaves and roots get broken down by bacteria, fungi and things. But that doesn't happen in mangroves because the soils are waterlogged. Instead of being broken down, they just get stored and accumulate over thousands of years until we have this kind of super store of soil carbon.
And since the carbon stays in the ground instead of being released into the atmosphere, it does not contribute to global warming. So what does this machine do?
It helps us to understand how much carbon is being absorbed by ecosystems such as mangroves, and we can then use that in our calculations of, for example, offsetting our climate change emissions.
How much carbon dioxide is in our mangroves?
So at the current time, it's about 1.6 million tons of carbon dioxide stored in our mangroves. So that is about equivalent to the annual emissions of 621,000 people. We've lost about 90% of our mangroves in Singapore, but even that remaining percentage is still able to perform this great function. Of course, there's no limit to all nature-based solutions, including mangroves, but mangroves can be one type of solution within a larger kind of toolbox.
After getting down and dirty, I'm now taking to the skies with chemical engineer Dr. Praveen Linga. From up here, we can really take in one of our most important assets. Singapore is surrounded by water. The seas play a key part in our livelihoods, but they also have an important role in the carbon cycle.
Almost 25% of the CO2 we produce now gets absorbed by the oceans and seas. They do this in two ways. One is carbon dioxide gets dissolved into the water or the salt water. The second is that carbon can be trapped in the form of biomass like planktons, which actually sink deep to the ocean floor when they die.
And is there a limit to this effect? Can we reach a saturation point?
Absolutely, yes. Too much of carbon dioxide is not good for the oceans in a sense that it can lead to acidification or algae blooms, both of which are not good for marine life. So what scientists are asking ourselves is, can we replicate what nature does, like mangroves or ocean?
With the limitations of the ocean as a carbon sink, scientists in recent years have been working on various ways to suck carbon dioxide from our atmosphere and to store it underground. But such methods of storing carbon are energy intensive and prone to leakage from earthquakes.
Can you turn that knob?
Which is why Praveen is studying a solution that harnesses the unique conditions found in the depths of our oceans.
In this reactor, we have simulated